If you suck at wrestling, you don't want to suck at wrestling, I'm going to give you some answers on how to do that. I'm Weston Wickman. I used to suck at wrestling. I still think I do sometimes, but I did get pretty good at it. I wrestled Division I for 4 years, was a state runner-up in high school, and I know a thing or two about wrestling. I now coach at one of the best clubs in the country, probably the best, Aspen Wrestling Academy. Today we're going to talk about beginner's mindset, confidence, and just thinking differently about sport and how this is going to take you from where you're at now and jump you levels later on in life. So first off, we're going to talk about the beginner's mindset. And I think a big part of this is just realizing that anytime you start something new, you're going to suck at it. You might be like, well, I'm not starting wrestling new, right? I've been doing it forever. But there's a difference between doing wrestling and then really locking in and trying to get good at wrestling. Just like I would assume there's a difference between, doing something and really trying to get good at anything in life, right? There's a different change in your mindset when you do that. And so I think there's a difference from being a true beginner and never ever doing it before, and then just doing it. You obviously get better at it because you do it, and then being like, okay, this is something I really want to lock in and get really, really good at. Those two are very similar situations. I feel like you're starting new both times, and they're very, very similar. Just think about anything that you've never done in your life when you're a kid, right? And you're a baby. Let's go all the way back to when you're a baby. Walking. You sucked at walking. You had to learn how to do it, right? And then you get a little bit older, and now you're riding a bike or something like that, and you sucked at that, and now you got to do it, right? And then you got better at it by doing it and stuff like that. But these things took time to get better at, right? And then I don't know, maybe there's a BMX guy watching this or something like that. The difference between you riding your bike and a BMX guy riding his bike is a pretty big difference, right? But the BMX guy, he learned to ride a bike, and then he said, hey, I want to get really, really good at this, where you never did that, right? So wrestling, for instance, is what we're going to be talking about, is you learned to wrestle and you got pretty good at it or whatever, and maybe you made a decision in your mind like, hey, this is what I want to be really, really good at, and now you're trying to get really, really good at it. And that's using your beginner mindset. So the first part is just realize that you're gonna suck, and it's okay, and we can go up from here. Second part is always learning, right? Beginner's mindset, we always have to be asking questions. We have to be looking to get better. We have to be looking to improve any way possible and ready to learn from anybody or anything that's available from us, whether it's our teammates, coaches, YouTube, research the sport, try to learn as much as you can, take everything. Even if the kid is, you're a senior in high school or something, you can learn something from a freshman. I'm sure he does a move that you don't do, or maybe he does a move that you do, but he does it better or something like that. Pick up details from everybody. Okay, so that's kind of beginner's mindset, is realize that you're going to suck and then just always be looking to learn. I feel like that alone can take you from, pretty low in the sport to up there. Second thing I want to talk about is confidence. Confidence in wrestling. I feel like confidence in anything is pretty big, but especially in wrestling, right? We need to be confident in our ability to go and take matters into our own hand and win wrestling matches. One of the most things, probably not the most things I talk about, a major thing that I talk about with the kids that come to my club and other kids that I help, is being able to have confidence to go out and execute your game plan against every single person, regardless of how good they are. It's really, really easy when you know that you're going to beat the kid up to go execute your game plan, but are you doing that against the best kids? And you're like, well, the best kids will beat me. Well, they're probably going to beat you if you don't go out and execute your own game plan. So you might as well go do your game plan, and then if he does beat you, we can learn from what went wrong. Or if he does beat you, we can start adapting our game plan. Be like, okay, where does our game plan have to switch? Where can we go differently? What adjustments do we need to make? Stuff like that. The biggest thing is, if it doesn't work, learn from it. Third thing is just thinking differently about the sport. And that comes from, I think, a lot of times from your practice. A lot of kids, they're just not focused in practice, right? And whether they're listening to what the coach says or doing what the coach says, they're not focused in thinking about every single rep and trying to get better. Like, this rep needs to be better than the last rep, and then the next rep needs to be better than that rep, and the next rep needs to be better than that rep. And I feel like that takes a lot of mental energy to do that all practice every single time. But if you can do that, right? Then you're thinking about the sport differently. You're thinking about every single rep individually, and you're trying to get better every single rep rather than just going through the motions and doing what coach tells you. And obviously practicing more is going to help you with this, but there is a point of diminishing returns. I will say, obviously you can't wrestle 24/7. So make sure that you're taking rest, stuff like that, taking care of your injuries. But the other thing I'll say about this is not that the sport is a job, because at the end of the day, it's a sport, it should be something you enjoy, but almost thinking about it as your job. And a lot of people, it's funny, a lot of people like are more loyal to their job than what they want to do. If you really want to get good at wrestling, show up every single day at practice. Like, that's your job. That's what you need to do to get better at the sport. And if someone was paying you to be at a job, you wouldn't just miss for no reason. Think about that for wrestling as well. Just because there's something else going on, like, no, there's practice tonight, that means you're there. There's practice that means you're there. There's an opportunity to get better at wrestling, that means you're at that opportunity. And so thinking about it like that always helped me, because whether there's an opportunity to whatever, hang out with friends or something like that, if I had practice, I was like, my schedule was full. Sorry, but like that's how it was. And so just thinking about it differently and really committing yourself to the sport, I think will help you a lot. Hope you enjoyed.